this the problem? You see, okay, it's a time of crisis, but we still have to be critical where it can be constructive to be critical. Rishi Sunak's business loan scheme is a disaster. It's not working. Because if you go along to the bank as a small or medium-sized business owner and say, I want to borrow this money, they've been asking for personal guarantees on your limited company, namely your house, and charging interest, even though they're borrowing money from the government, the Bank of England, at 0.1%, charging small businesses up to 23%. And a lot of businesses are saying, do you know what? We're in trouble anyway. The last thing we need is more debt at high interest rates. And so one of my big concerns here is a recent study said that by the beginning of May, nearly 1 million small businesses could be genuinely insolvent in this country. And we've prayed to the gods of global business far too much over the course of the last 20 years. They've dominated the narrative. They've dominated our political class in Westminster. It's the 5.5 million that run the small businesses that create the jobs and the real wealth within the private sector in our economy. And so this is now the biggest challenge we face. We know that testing on whether you've got it or not, the antigen test, has been completely shambolic. But we'd hoped that the antibodies test, where the government were starting to order large amounts, might offer us a way out of this. Now we learn that the test isn't reliable. Now, I won't blame the government for that. I won't blame the government for doing things that don't work. I'll blame them for not doing things when there is a need to. But at some point, and it's not yet, but at some point, we have to think, what is our exit strategy from the current lockdown? My local garden centre is just 2 miles away. Now, I can go to the supermarket and queue up, keeping a 6-foot distance from the person in front and behind, but I can't go to my garden centre. It's a family-owned business. How long can he survive? And we have to think about this. Now, Boris Johnson is in intensive care. With the best will in the world, he's going through an ordeal, and it's going to take him a long time to recover. In fact, you know something? He's probably as ill as he is because he's carried on working despite having some pretty unpleasant symptoms. It is going to be, and we've got to face up to this, it is going to be some time before the Prime Minister is back on top of his game. And it's going to leave people like Dominic Raab with the most astonishing level of responsibility. At what point do you start to free up the economy? At what point do you give a lot of our small businesses the chance not to go insolvent? The upside is my local garden centre will start taking money. The downside is if you put people out into the population and you've not been able to antibody test whether they've had this thing and are now probably going to be immune to it, you risk a massive second wave of infection that perhaps the lockdown was designed to stop in the first place. And that, as I say, expect the 3-week lockdown to be renewed for a further 3 weeks. I mean, that's almost a gimme, I think. But as we head into end of May, these are monumental decisions that our government is going to have to take. Austria are perhaps leading the way on this. The Austrians have decided 2 things. The first of which I think is incredibly sensible. The Austrians have decided that face masks are compulsory.
We will make America great again.